So, welcome everybody to Tuesday night at the Dallas Meditation Center. This is our wake up gathering for young people in their 20s and 30s, or those who would like to support that peer group in their practice. So, welcome. I think everyone here is familiar. No new faces or names. So, I guess we will start. Well, I'll say just to begin that we meet every Tuesday at 7 o'clock, and you can find us on our Facebook page or through the Dallas Meditation Center website. And it's only one of many gatherings. We have a Sunday gathering, Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, as well as our Zen-to-go meetings, which happen at noon every Monday through Thursday. So if you want to check out the offerings that are happening at the Dallas Meditation Center, there's more than enough opportunities. So we welcome you to check it out, especially if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact. You can check it out with the links in the description to the video. And maybe we'll see you another day. Now I'm going to pause this recording so that we can do our check-ins, and after the check-ins, we'll resume with the guided meditation. Okay, so thanks everybody for checking in. Now we'll move on to our opening affirmation. So we'll listen to 3 sounds of the bell just to become present here in the present moment. And then we'll do our opening affirmation. I think everyone here is familiar, so if you're listening on YouTube, just go ahead and follow along. If it resonates, then let it in and feel it. And if it doesn't resonate, just let it slide on by. No big deal. But at the very least, please listen to the sound of the bell and use the sound to become present. May we and all beings be happy and free. May we and all beings transform our suffering. May we and all beings rejoice in all joys. May we and all beings be at peace. Okay. So now we're going to move into our sitting meditation period. So please find a posture that is comfortable and stable. It can be a formal cross-legged seated meditation posture if you like. You can also sit in a chair. You're welcome to lay down. You're also welcome to stand. Whatever feels comfortable and stable, somewhere you can be still for about 20 to 25 minutes. Okay, if you're laying down, it might be useful to set the intention to remain alert and awake. If you feel like you might drift off, having the eyes slightly open can help. Regardless of what position you happen to find yourself in now, it's useful to have an upright spine or a straight spine. You might want to tilt the chin down a little bit so the neck is in line with the spine. And if you're sitting, you might imagine a thread moving out the top of the skull and lifting up through the body, lifting up through the spine. And the weight of the chest actually being supported by the spine itself, so you're not curving or leaning forward. It may take a few moments to find a position that feels stable. You might rock back and forth or side to side, the base of the spine moving inside of the pelvis until you find a place of balance. And the hands are placed comfortably either on the thighs or the knees, or perhaps in the lap with one hand inside of the other. Again, no posture is more stable or spiritual than another. What we're aiming at is stability and comfort. And when you're ready, taking a few intentional breaths to expand the lungs. Following the sensations of the breathing in and out of the body, becoming aware of the presence of the body. And noticing to begin where your awareness is concentrated right now. So in this broad field that is your experience of this moment, where is awareness collecting? Where is attention collecting? Without trying to change or modify, simply noticing. And perhaps experimenting with expanding that location of attention, expanding the awareness to include a little more of the field of your experience. Notice the ability to move the attention throughout the field. It can be particularly useful to send the attention through the body. What is experienced as bodily sensation. You could scan from head to toe slowly. You could move the attention at random. Or you could choose a specific sensation or set of sensations, such as the breathing. And simply notice, without judgment, simply noticing what is present. And you might choose to bring attention to the sensations of breathing as kind of a home base, simply because it's oh so reliable. It's a reliable home base. To be aware of the breathing is not to exclude awareness of the rest of the field. It's a place to rest. Aware of the inhale and aware of the exhale. If in the past you have trained in a kind of guided relaxation, the invitation is to release that practice. And rather than trying to modify or release tension within the body or the mind, simply resting in an awareness of what is happening as it is, without judgment, neither clinging nor pushing away. Rather than trying to unclench tensions, perhaps see what it's like to rest within the awareness itself. Awareness of awareness, without modifying what arises within the field of awareness. If thoughts arise, simply notice without getting caught in the stories or the images. There's no need to try to get rid of thoughts or suppress them or push them away. Simply notice and return to the awareness of the breathing and the body. Breathing in, aware of breathing in. Breathing out, aware of breathing out. Occasionally bringing awareness to the experience of awareness itself. whatever happens to be present in your awareness in this moment. See if you can attend to it with more intimacy, more sensitivity. What is the texture of this experience? The tone, the feeling. Whether it's a sensation in the body or a thought in the mind, take a moment to see what it feels like, to become familiar with this kind of arising, without judging it as good or bad. Simply notice. And again, return to simplicity of awareness itself, perhaps resting on the breath and the body. Thanks, whoever told me I was on mute. Um, so yeah, welcome back. Today I'd like to give a talk on retreat. And this came up because a few days ago, I think it was Saturday, I just woke up first thing in the morning, and by some kind of random miraculous occurrence, I had so few thoughts in my mind, which in my experience is rather rare. The morning, waking up in the morning can be kind of challenging. There's lots of thoughts that can be challenging for me. But I woke up feeling just very calm and very clear, and by some inspiration, just said I'm gonna roll with this. I don't have anything on the schedule this Saturday, so I just lay on my back and meditated for a while without getting out of bed. And by the time that was done, one step leading to another, I ended up meditating most of the day through into the early to mid afternoon. And what comes to mind when I share that, when I think about that, is how retreat can seem like a really big ordeal, or this fancy thing that you do, or something that takes a lot of effort to do. And I'd like to kind of talk about what retreat means to me, and what meditation really means at a certain level, and try to put some ideas together just from my personal experience that might be helpful to you. So during the check-ins, the question which was included was what brought you to meditation? And I think it's useful from time to time to check in with that motivation, like why do we sit? why do we meditate? And for me, I think really underneath it all is curiosity. I think there's a natural curiosity in human beings that, aside from any agenda that we bring to meditation practice, there's something way more fundamental. At least in the South Asian tradition of meditation, this is really it's in the lineage of yoga. So yoga, the exploration of really what it means to be alive, what it means to be conscious. There's not really a solid definition of the earliest yoga, but I think that underneath all of it, regardless of where in the world you have traditions of awareness, bringing awareness to awareness, it's really grounded in a fundamental curiosity about our predicament. You know, what is this crazy stuff that's happening? I have these sights and sounds and tastes and smells and feelings and thoughts, and the perception of everything changing, and my body keeps changing, and my thoughts keep changing, and everything around me keeps changing. And what's really going on? You know, beneath or before any sense of, different traditions have different trajectories. Before anything like, I would like to, be unified with God consciousness, or something like that, or I would like to relieve all suffering from my life. Before these kind of secondary agendas come into the picture, there's something more primary, I think, and that's just that awareness is there's a natural curiosity to it. So given that as an introduction, and before I continue, I'll say this, that everything that I'm saying is, take it or leave it. If it fits with you, then turn it over and digest it. And if it really doesn't resonate, that's okay. We're all different. I'm just sharing from my experience. Um, so, um, we say we have this phrase meditation practice. I practice meditation. And of course, we have a sense of what that means. And I'm also going to challenge that idea as well, that meditation isn't really a practice. It's not a method. Um, at base, what we call meditation practice is simply tuning into the awareness that's already present. So we're often quite distracted with the stories of our lives and our preoccupations and worries and ambitions and any number of other stuff. But to me, meditation is really taking a pause to become aware that there is awareness. It's a very radical tuning into just the basic function of being alive. So before any methods like tuning to your breath or your body or whatever, or any instruction you might have, there's this really basic activity of awareness itself. And I'd suggest that depending on how you came to meditation, if you began with a set of instructions, if that's really where you stay as a beginning, you might miss something really important, and that is that basic sense of curiosity, your own direct awareness. So there's nothing wrong with instructions. There's nothing wrong with different methods, but there's something more fundamental. And I think that when practice gets dry, or when meditation gets dry for us, I think what dries up is this deeper layer of living curiosity. It's a disconnection from really the heart of what we're doing. So, as an example, you may have been given the instruction to place attention on the breathing, which is something that we do. It's actually a really great instruction. It has a lot of uses and benefits. But without resting in the awareness of that itself, without seeing the deeper underlying activity that's going on, that practice can become really mechanical and really dry, actually really quickly. So, yeah. And in line with that, even ideas like how long you need to sit, you need to sit for 20 minutes or 10 minutes or an hour or whatever. These are all kind of methodical instructions. These are technical instructions, and they have their uses. But if you sit for an hour without really being aware that you're aware, it's not really much use. It can actually be kind of a grueling process. Where you can sit for 5 minutes being extremely aware that there's awareness happening, and it can be actually really fruitful. So this is why I think retreat has been important to me, and it's been increasingly important throughout my life. Ever since my first retreat, something really turned on. And I want to kind of talk about that for a little bit. Has anyone here done a meditation retreat, whether it's a day or a week or anything like that? No. Okay, cool. Thanks, Miles. Yeah, I really appreciate everything you said. So Miles just gave about 60% of the rest of my talk. Um, and but yeah, I'm really going to let that feedback just rest on its own without making a lot of commentary. Um, I hope that everyone else kind of digested that. There was so much stuff in there that was useful. Um, so if you haven't done a retreat, um, there's a few things that keep us from doing retreat, and I'd like to address those because sometimes getting those things out of the way helps a lot in our motivation to go into a deeper practice. Um, Number one, if we've been around a lot of Vipassana tradition folks, and Vipassana is a really great practice, the Burmese Vipassana, there's this idea that you may have the idea that you have to go for 10 days and practice for 10 days. That is an arbitrary number established by that tradition. But I've heard more than one person say that, oh, but I don't have 10 days. So 10 days is a wonderful amount of time to practice, and it's a really great tradition to practice in. But I would like to suggest that a retreat can be a lot shorter. One day is a lot if you've never done retreat before. A half a day is a lot if you've never done retreat before. Even just setting aside a one weekend day from 8 or 9 in the morning until noon or 1 o'clock, that's really gonna open a lot of doors to your awareness. That's actually quite a lot of time to sit with yourself, much more than we typically do on a given day or on a given week. So that time constraint, it doesn't have to be a month or 10 days or a week or 5 days. It can be a few hours. It can be 2 hours. So that's number one. I would even suggest starting with a half day or a one day, simply because you might want to build up your confidence to sit for longer before you try a week or 10 days. Number two, things that might get in the way. Oh, but it has to be in a group, or it has to be with a leader, with a teacher. This can be really supportive. It's really supportive to sit with other people, as we do every week here. It can be really supportive to have instructions or guidance from a teacher. And ultimately, if we're going to be meditating on the long term, we're just working with our own experience. So the teacher is really our own awareness. And we can go to that whenever. That can be the basis of retreat, especially a shorter retreat. So if you're waiting for the right teacher or the right group, you have it with you every day you wake up. Okay, another thing. Okay, retreat has to involve these really long and arduous sitting sessions, and I'm just not ready to do that. That's another really, really common thing that prevents people from doing retreat, especially if you're going to like a 10-day Vipassana, which there's, depending on which one you go to, there's really long sits, like 2 hours, sometimes 2.5 hours. I'm here to tell you that you can sit as long as you like. In fact, especially when you're starting out, even when I do retreat, and I've been sitting for quite a long time, when I'm doing a solitary retreat just with myself, I will start out the first day or the first 2 days with shorter sits that are more frequent. So sit for 15 minutes, take a 5-minute break. Sit for another 15 minutes, take a 5-minute break. Sit for 30 minutes, and you increase your stamina as your mind and your body settle down. The benefit of doing a retreat on your own is, and I guess what I'm talking about here really is doing retreat on your own, as the theme of my talk. Not to, if you can't find an organized retreat, to feel empowered, to feel confident that you can do this on your own. That's really the core theme of what I'm talking about. When you're able to respect your own energy and set your own pace and increase the time you're sitting, as feels like is a manageable, reasonable extension of your limit, not only do you gain the feeling of um, of of trusting yourself to sit and be sensitive to where you're at, but the confidence in realizing that you can gauge and you can extend and you can actually do your strength training yourself. And this gives you a confidence that sitting in any other way just won't give you. Even though it can be challenging to do this by yourself, it will give you a confidence that I don't think really arises in any other way. So another thing keeps us held back. I need to go somewhere special. I need to be at a retreat center. I need to be at a monastery. I need to be at a meditation center. You can practice anywhere. Some places that are difficult to practice for a retreat, for a 1 day or a 2 day or a 3 day or even a half day, is at home. So sitting for 20 minutes at home or 40 minutes in one session, that's pretty doable. But for a lot of us being at home when we're going into a longer period of time, there's a lot of distraction. A lot of our habit patterns are all around us. You have the refrigerator, you have the internet, you have maybe people that you live with. So you can practice at home, but it can be useful to go somewhere else. I really think that there's something to the recommendation that is thousands of years old now to go into nature, or at the very minimum to go sit under a tree. And the benefits for me in that are, one, I'm out of my house. I have none of my props for my identity and my entertainment. And I feel the support of being a part of the world. I can feel the tree shading me from the sun. I can feel the ground. I can touch the grass. I can be really connected to a life that's beyond my own body. So I really, really recommend that. There's another belief that you need to have special instructions to do a retreat. I'm going to go on retreat and they're going to give me a particular set of instructions that's going to somehow skyrocket me to a special place or a special experience or get me something. While instructions are useful, what I'm getting at here is something really, really radical, which is resting with awareness itself. It's something that you learn it simply by being. It's something you learn by being and by being aware. It teaches itself. If anyone does hatha yoga, there's a line that yoga teaches yoga. Yoga will teach itself. In a similar sense, when people say that they've never done yoga and they'd like to start, I always tell them get a mat, and for 30 minutes a day, just get on that mat and don't leave. And move your body, become aware of what's happening in your body, or sit still, become aware of what's happening in your mind, but commit to not leaving that mat for 30 minutes at a time. And that's how yoga begins. All the other instructions come after, but really the beginning and the end is how we can be present with what's here, with what's in this mind and this body. And the same goes for meditation. So again, just to reinforce, nothing's going to give you a confidence like learning how to trust yourself, learning how to trust your ability to be with what's here. So just a few recommendations if you want to do retreat. And I really, really, really recommend it. If you can schedule an afternoon with your friends to go hang out at the park, you can schedule an afternoon with yourself to go sit under a tree somewhere and enjoy being alive and get curious about what it is to be alive. So a half day is a really, really wonderful place to start. Some suggestions. As I said, if possible, don't stay at home. That's a really challenging place to try to do a longer retreat, especially if it's going to be a couple days or more than a couple hours. But you can maybe go home to sleep if you're going to be in a park or something, but generally sit either at least in the backyard or outside or something like that. The benefits of this is you don't have any interruptions. The phone's not ringing. The internet's not there. Your television isn't there. Your food isn't there. Your beloved library of spiritual books isn't there. None of that is there. So if you're going to go for a day or a half day, really just pack up everything you need beforehand and take it in one bag, and that's it. In that bag, in that set of stuff, I really recommend no notebooks, So this isn't a journaling process. No notebooks, no books, no no audio, no phone. If you're using your phone as a timer, either put it in airplane mode, or if you want to be really, really serious, actually take out the SIM card so you don't have data or Wi-Fi or anything. Use your phone as a timer if you even want to use a timer. Enough food, enough water. Water is really important, especially if you're going for a full day. It sounds like kind of like really nuts and bolts, but if you're going to be going out to sit for a full day, bringing enough water is probably your number one thing. Enough water and food that's going to keep you energized, like bits of fruit, oranges, bananas, things like that, light food. And then as far as what you're doing itself, as was mentioned earlier, silence. There's a reason why we practice silence when we're meditating. And it's to get beneath the layer of thought forms, of concepts and ideas and words. There's the outer silence, which is the beginning. It's when you stop verbalizing with your throat and your mouth. And that's really the prerequisite to an inner silence when the mind starts to calm down. You don't need to silence all the thoughts in your mind. So if you're sitting and there's a lot of thoughts, it's okay. Just notice, and also know that over time, especially as you rest within the awareness itself, those thoughts will have moments when they quiet down. And that's the inner silence that starts to arise on its own. And other than that, really, it comes down to awareness. You can choose to focus on the breathing. It can be useful, but you don't have to. Start with the awareness itself. And that awareness, really important, is non-judgmental. So that awareness isn't having preferences about what it's seeing or experiencing. It's not clinging to certain things. It's not pushing certain things away. You might notice in the mind or the body the impulse to cling or the impulse to push away. And as long as there's that awareness there, watching that awareness itself isn't clinging or pushing away, and it helps the clinging and pushing away to start to subside a bit, to loosen up a bit. Similarly, no accepting or rejecting. And really, really important. And this can be particularly a challenge if we've been reading about certain like jhana states of concentration, or certain effects of meditation, or certain benefits of meditation, with as useful as those ideas can be, as useful as those understandings can be in certain contexts, they can really also get in the way. As much as possible, I would really recommend, especially on a first solo retreat of extended time sitting and walking, see what it's like not to have an agenda. Like, don't meditate with an agenda to get anywhere or do anything in particular, and just see what arises. You can use instructions to do other things in other moments, but I really recommend, if you've never just sat just to sit, just to be aware, see what that's like before you impose an agenda. Until you see what's going on, how can you really work with what's going on? So this means dropping any type of ideological framework. So if you've studied a lot of Buddhism, that's wonderful. If you've studied a lot of Christian mysticism, that's wonderful. If you've studied Kabbalah, that's wonderful. Whatever you've studied or read about or heard about from teachers, it's all great. When you come to this practice, drop it. Just drop all of the conceptual frameworks and become intimate with what's actually happening in your own experience. Okay? If the ideologies you've studied later on after your retreat, you're like, oh, I see a resonance between what I just experienced and this set of ideas, that's great. But I really highly recommend becoming directly aware of your own life process before imposing any tradition on top of it, because that can actually get quite confusing. decrease your confidence in your own ability to be with yourself. Um, so, last thing, yeah, calming the body into stillness can be really, really helpful. You can meditate walking, you can meditate moving. Theoretically, you can meditate doing everything. But if you're starting out, being still is really, really useful. The more still you are, the more likely is that the mind becomes still as well. There's a correlation between mind and body, that once the mind starts to calm and release some of its constrictions, the mind tends to settle as well. So anyone who sat for a longer period of time has probably experienced this. And it comes and goes. This isn't a formula like you're going to sit still and you're automatically going to become super quiet inside. But in general, it can be useful to be still. And yeah, just see what's going on. So if you're on your own, you can, if you're used to sitting for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 40 minutes, then go for it. If you have that confidence, then jump in and sit that way. If you have doubts about your ability to sit that long, no problem. You can sit for 10 minutes at a time, take a couple minutes break, sit again. Try to increase that time over the course of the day. If you want to be really, really daring, you can sit without a timer. So you can commit to say this retreat is going to last from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. and not time any of the sits. Instead of timing the sits, you can time the breaks in between the sits. So my maximum break time during this period is 5 minutes. If you're really tired, okay, I'm going to take a break for 10 minutes, or I'm going to do walking for 15 minutes, or I'm going to take half an hour for lunch. But keep track of the time in between the sitting sessions, which might mean that you do a lot more or a lot less sitting sessions than you might have imagined. But by taking that agenda, taking that expectation off of your sitting period, you can really relax into the awareness itself. You can relax into being present without feeling pushed around by an external schedule. That's not an instruction for everyone, but it's something maybe you might want to play with. I think there's real benefits to having a schedule, sticking to it. And I think there's also benefits to learning how to trust yourself to maintain your own energy and push your own, be aware and kind of play with your own edge of what you're capable of in any given day or given moment. So yeah, that's really the things that I wanted to share today. And hopefully they're useful. I know it sounds really nuts and bolts, but I really appreciate the practical instructions. And this isn't coming from any book. This is really coming from my experience of sitting for a while. What I'm really aiming at here is, how do you build confidence to really be present with your own life? And how do you create an atmosphere within your own mind and body for that natural living curiosity to come out and explore and have the freedom to become familiar with this mysterious process that's happening? And different traditions have different ways of talking about it and have different agendas about what to do with it or where to go with it. But the rock bottom foundation is you have to be here. You have to be here with what's going on. So if you haven't done retreat before, I'm putting this out there as an invitation to take half a day or take a day and try this out for yourself, that you don't have to commit to 10 days or a month or taking robes or anything. You can really just take a morning or an afternoon and practice this stuff. So that's what I have to share, and I hope it's useful to you. Let's see. I think for the sake of... No, never mind. We'll do that later. Right now I'm going to turn the recording off, and we can have some discussion or questions or anything like that. And then we'll be back to do the the closing later on. So, okay, thanks everyone for that discussion. We're gonna wrap things up. I said this during the discussion, which of course we don't record for privacy's sake of our participants at the gathering, but just for those of you who are watching the YouTube video, one thing that I wanted to really clarify after the talk is that the perspectives offered during the talk are in no way intended to be a criticism of any methodology or instructions you've received anywhere, either at Dallas Meditation Center or from me or from any other teacher, that there's real value in whatever tradition you're working in. And I encourage you to continue exploring those instructions you've received if they work for you. The purpose of my focus on awareness itself and curiosity as a foundation is to kind of give you a really grounded personal connection to what you're doing, so that you're following your own curiosity and learning to navigate your own way through this really wide ocean of possibility that is meditation, and beginning to create your own understanding through your own exploration, and so that the instructions you get make sense within the context of your own life and experience. So in case there's confusion about that, keep on doing whatever practices work for you, and with my encouragement. So to wrap up, a few announcements are, as I said at the beginning, we have events, gatherings all week long. I think almost every day of the week. You can find that on online at dallasmeditationcenter.com or on our Facebook page. So feel welcome to look that up and join us. I'm putting in the chat box, for those of you who are alive, present at the meeting right now, a link to where you can donate online or through texting the word mindful through your phone to 44321. That information is going to be down below in the information section of the YouTube video if you're watching the YouTube video. The Dallas Meditation Center is a 501c3 that is run entirely on donations. So without your donations, it's really challenging for us to keep this boat afloat. So if you would like to include generosity in your practice, this is a really wonderful way to do it. So again, that information is down there in the comments, or in the information of the video. And what else? I think we have someone who's here in our group today, Miles, who wants to make an announcement for an offering that she is offering. So I'm going to open up the floor for her to do that now. Go ahead, Miles.
Thanks, Nico. I appreciate it. So we all come to meditation for different reasons. And if one of the reasons that brought you to meditation was the problematic use of alcohol, substances, or behaviors, we're doing a Thursday night group through the DMC that specifically applies mindfulness to that end. We start with a 30-minute meditation, and then we open up the floor to kind of the specific challenges to applying mindfulness and applying mindfulness in recovered living. The group is called Recovering Joy, because I think for a lot of people, taking a substance out or shifting from unmindful to mindful consumption is often subtractive. But my question is always, what are we inviting in instead? And my hope, and what makes it a little bit different than the focus of some program structured support groups, is that there is a focus on, well, how can we recover joy into our lives? And this week we'll be staying with the theme of creatively together, and talking about going on vacation is great, painting a masterpiece is great, but how can we make time for little pockets of creativity in daily life? Is that something that can realistically bring a little bit more playfulness, a little bit more creativity into daily life? And that's on the DMC Facebook page under the event, so you can message me to get the information for that. But just an open invitation, there's no obligation. Um, yeah, so feel free to drop in. It's on Zoom. Share with anyone you think might be interested. Tries to be very non judgmental, keeping with inclusiveness. So thank you, Nico.
Thanks, Miles. I appreciate that. All right, so those are our announcements for today. We're going to close up with the four vows of awakening beings. And we'll begin with three sounds of the bell, again, to bring us back into awareness of the present moment. And if you're on YouTube listening and this is new to you, again, just like our opening affirmation, if it resonates, let it in. If it doesn't, let it slide on by and just enjoy the sound. Thank you, everyone, for being here, either live or on YouTube. And we hope to see you again soon. Okay. Okay. Countless beings we vow to free, ceaseless afflictions we vow to end, limitless truth doors we vow to open, the deepest paths of awakening we vow to realize. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.